Hey guys, we just got back from viewing the Age of Ultron at 10:45 showing at our local theater. We wanted to give you a little bit of a reaction video for it. We are going to break it up into two parts for you though. The first one, we're going to try not to do any spoilers, but you've been warned. I can't guarantee you we're not going to touch on something here and there, but if you wanted to get into the more nitty-gritty, stay tuned. Check out part 2 of our video for the spoiler cast, but until then, let's get some reactions. How did you feel about the movie as a whole, Andrew?
As a movie as a whole, I can't really describe all of it at once, but I have to say it was well put together from a director's standpoint. Like there was no cuts, there was almost no holes to it. You are expected to know a lot of like the characters.
Mm-hmm.
You're expected to know somewhat of what they're.
Yeah, I mean you gotta already know like who they are as people. You know, a little bit about their backstory. You know, some of the characters have been more fleshed out than others. But yeah, if you're going into this blind, you're still gonna have a good time just because they are well-known characters. But kind of like the nuances of like their history and where they came from are really gonna be lost on you. You know, the best thing about it though, they really kept, you know, they kept it moving forward. For even the people that don't know about the backstory, you know, it's a very fun, lighthearted movie. So like the jokes they're really in the forefront in this one. You know, between.
I did not expect that, to be honest.
No, I didn't either.
Josh Whedon specifically said it'd be a very darker toned Avengers movie, and it seemed like a very light.
Yeah, I thought it was really lighthearted. I didn't see it dark at all.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
And that might just be because that they've released like the Batman v Superman trailer, and that is dark. Like it is as dark as it gets. And you know, the bright colors, and this really does it's almost like you're watching an animated Marvel, you know, Avengers movie, but then brought to life. They did a fantastic job with that, and it really shows on screen.
That's one thing is all the animation stuff. That was amazing. It's all the powers and all the robots flying everywhere.
And we saw it in 3D, and at first I was worried. I thought this thing was going to be like super 3D, in my face, not going to be able to follow. But they went in my opinion, the better route, and they gave it more depth than they did, you know, popping out at you. I don't even think I saw like an Ultron robot like flying at my face once. So thumbs up for me.
I was actually scared they would do that to me, where they would.
Absolutely hate it. Terrible.
They were gonna go old classic.
Right, but they don't. So we don't have to worry about that. What did you think about kind of how, you know, I mean, you're kind of the comic book guy. You know a lot more about the story. How did you feel they portrayed the characters? You know, without trying to get into the actual story.
Without getting into
But do you think they were true to the characters, or do you think Whedon took a lot of liberties with his portrayal of them?
Well, it is a comic book, and you are going to have to take some liberties, just because the general public. I mean,
sure.
I mean, this thing could go out of hand if you were to. Let's say the Speed Racer movie, if you were to go all out, just like that movie, it just kind of
crazy.
Yeah, you know, like you have to take some limits to what really is comic, and I love how they kept a sense of like reality into this whole thing. It didn't get too comic-y, and the storyline didn't go too crazy. Honestly, it didn't go crazy at all, to be honest.
Yeah, you know, without getting into it, I was a little disappointed with the actual story, but like I said, we'll have to get into that with part 2. But the pacing is awesome. They really keep you moving. There really is no dry spot, and it's not all action either. But it's just always something new being introduced while tying up a loose end as you go. So you're never like left wondering, oh, what happened, you know, to this character in this situation. But you're also never left wondering, I wonder what's going to happen next for too long.
Yeah. That's also the next part. The characters as Avengers, as I was hoping, their whole personalities are different when they're together, and that's exactly what I was expecting. You know, they're standalone films. They're quite different if you think about it. They act more like a family type deal. They're more they fight amongst each other a little bit. You know. Yeah,
they're kind of like.
They argue.
By now they're like, you know, good friends. It's like they've known each other for a while.
Yeah.
So they're poking fun without, you know, offending each other.
I think it worked perfectly, to be honest.
The humor was spot on. But with that being said, there really isn't like a single, you know, joke that sticks out in my mind. There is that one, long running joke throughout the movie that they hit on, which is funny, but it's not really memorable.
Yeah.
I remember the first movie that there were, the Hulk, there was a lot of jokes that they stuck with you. You still talk about them, but I don't think it's really going to be that with this one.
The thing is that, there is that kind of goal, is if you want jokes spread around the movie, or do you want these really big puns,
Sure.
And just like in the Avengers movie, that big pun with him being Puny God, he takes him around. That takes a whole scene in itself. And
yeah. In that respect, I think this film definitely matured a lot from the first one. The first one just felt like kind of like snippets, placed together, and I mean there was kind of like a movement forward, but there really wasn't any progression. Whedon took a lot of risks, I think, with his characters this time around. He really fleshed out the individual characters. The overall story as a whole didn't really move forward, but you really get to know these characters a lot, especially Hawkeye.
That was one thing he did say, like in a lot of interviews, was that he wanted to give the characters that didn't get any screen time or character development in the first part to get it, but boy wasn't he kidding, man.
Yeah, well, the one problem with that is he spent so much time on like the Avengers cast that I feel like the new characters that he introduced into this movie got even less of an introduction than Hawkeye did in the first Avengers movie.
Honestly,
you got Scarlet Witch and you got Quicksilver, but they didn't really give us a whole lot to go off of with them. They originated, if you know a lot about the storylines from the comics, in the X-Men side of the Marvel universe. We can't really talk about that with this because Fox owns X-Men, so that they can't really say mutant. They're not really part of the same cinematic theatrical universe. They say that they're twins in the movie, and they give them a little bit of a backstory, but honestly I don't really remember too much about it.
You don't get much about it, to be honest.
It was like a one scene where they really mentioned them, at least where they came from. But were they being trained?
No, it doesn't matter about that. But yeah, you get a little blurb about who they are based on a file technically, but you just expect it to just soak it in, But anyway, music and cinematography, essentially. What do you think about the music, first of all?
The music was good.
Was it on cue? Was everything cool with you? Honestly,
I didn't
even notice.
That's what I was about to say. Is I'm usually a really big, proponent and music fan for movies. I don't really listen to it in my personal life, but as far as movies go, I think it's very important. But the music kind of took a back seat to the dialogue and the sound effects in this one. And that's not to say that it was bad. It did its job, and I think it set the mood fine.
I think if you don't even notice the music, I feel like that's when it's done perfectly.
I think for this type of movie, it was done well. And that's because...
But if you think about it, you're paying so much attention, you're so immersed.
Right.
And you can't even notice the music.
Exactly, yeah.
It was a really good thing.
It was a good compliment to the on-screen action. But there was no one track that really stuck out.
There was no,
other than Ultron singing his Pinocchio song. But that's about it.
You have the classic Avengers from Part 1. That classical thing keeps coming up. But even there was no big overhaul. There was nothing that I was just
No, there was no big build-up.
The Spider-Man soundtrack, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. There was actually a point where in the movie where I actually went and bought the album just because I loved the soundtracks to that. That might just be me because I'm a big Spider-Man fan.
Now, do you think you're gonna go out and buy?
Honestly, I can't even remember the soundtrack. Either it was that good being fluid with the movie,
right? But I don't think it's something I would need to listen to.
Yeah, that's.
So I thought the cinematography was done really well. They had their scenes separate, but then the movie's really at its best when the core group of characters are on screen together, fighting in tandem with one another. They have this technique, and I don't know if you saw Kingsman, but there's a scene where the action just kind of flows through like it's one big take, and they do it I think twice in this movie. Once in the beginning, and once towards the big build-up, and it's amazing. I don't know how they did it, but it just goes from one attack into another attack, and it's just character to character all flowing together. It really gives you kind of a sense of space. You know, like the surroundings, and you can really believe that all this is happening around each other in one big fight. They do also, they split up the group, and
is it me, or does it like, as sometimes, because they do give you good space and some room to breathe when you're watching, but is it to me, or does it feel cluttered at one point?
Well, yeah, when there's all the stuff flying around and robots, it's a lot to take in, and since we did see it in 3D, it makes it a lot harder to focus on the individual
because everything
pieces.
There's a bunch of stuff kind of popping at you.
Yeah.
All right, I get that then.
Okay, so to recap, we really liked the new direction they took. We liked how they fleshed out the characters. We liked how everything flowed really well together. We thought the music was good, but it wasn't really like mind blowing. It was just kind of a backseat to the action and
it was a
voiceover. Exactly, yeah. What would you say? Do you recommend this movie to our viewers, or who would you recommend it to, or who would you not recommend it to?
If you're looking for a good ride, I would definitely recommend this. If you're into something like Furious 7, which is just gets action, here you go,
right?
Then definitely just go for it. If you're looking for some rigid, some crazy storyline, something that will like, what's another movie with a good storyline? For example, Interstellar, something like that. Like that would literally just
completely different side of the spectrum.
You're not going to be too happy with that, but it is a comic movie, so let's get on with that.
Yeah, I really second his opinion. It's a fantastic popcorn flick. Great start to the summer blockbuster movie scene. If you're a fan of the Avengers, if you're a fan of action movies in general, I say go see it. Even if you don't know a whole lot about these characters, they're well known enough that you can kind of just pick up the pieces. There really isn't anything too in-depth in here that you have to worry about. Some of the jokes might fall flat for you, but I think in general, it's a good movie all around. I really can't think of anybody that I wouldn't recommend it to. I think even someone who, doesn't really care about superhero videos, if they're going with, a spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, I think even they could get some enjoyment out of it. It's just pure fun.
Characters are lovable and stuff. You get attached to them. You got Robert Downey Jr.
Even if you're going to just see, your favorite actor or actress, do something. It really is a good movie. Just don't expect, mind-blowing story or anything.
Not to say it's bad, but just in general.
Alright guys, so that is our, reaction of the overall movie. Stick around for our spoiler cast in part 2.